Several times each year, I have homeowners come to me with the question, can you build a wooden retaining wall? Isn't it cheaper? And I've never sat down and done the math to figure this out exactly. But today I ran the numbers and I want to show you the scope of a wooden retaining wall and the scope of a block wall like a Versalock, and lay this out and dispel the myth that wood will be cheaper. So wood, first off, in some places has been outlawed as a retaining wall material. And wood rots, even if it's pressure treated, it has a lifespan. Most of the wooden walls that we've dismantled to build block walls were never done properly. So I'm taking proper construction techniques with dead men included, and I'm going to run through the process of building a timber wall and compare that to a block wall, and let's settle this dispute or debunk this myth. So DIY retaining wall. I don't have a lot of stock that I put into DIY websites and projects, but this is by far the most detailed cross-section and description of how to build a wooden wall that I've ever seen. So I'm going to run down to this cross-section that they have here. And they are stating that you want to have at least part of a tie, if not a whole one, buried. And you want to have a minimum of 4 inches of base material. You want to have dead men, or these pieces running perpendicular to the face of the wall, back into the slope, at least equal to dead men equal to the length of the wall height. So in their example, they're showing a 4-foot wall. What I did was I ran the numbers. If we did a 3-foot tall, and I'm considering that from the footer up, not just the ground up, a 3-foot tall wooden wall that's 20 feet long, and compare that to a 3-foot by 20-foot Versalock wall. So we're going to have, in this tutorial, they talk about the foundation, and they say that the base material here in a wall that's 2 to 4 feet tall, you should have a trench for base that's 18 inches wide and 4 inches deep. For a block wall, here's my cross section for that, you're going to have a 24-inch base pad front to back, and you're going to have 6 inches of stone. So slightly more base prep for this wall, for the block wall. When I go back to this, they have a minimum of 12 inches of crushed stone behind the wall. And your timbers, I'm using, they said in here, you could use either 6x6 or 8x8s. I went with 6x6s, so I'm even using smaller wood size, which really is a 5x5 when it's, when you actually get it and measure it. It's not a true 6x6. So they want a minimum of 12 inches of crushed stone behind this wall. When I pull up my Versalock cross section, 12 inches of drainage behind the wall as well. Both have a pipe, but for a wall that doesn't have an extra load of a shed or a driveway, parking cars or anything, extremely steep slope on top, that's all the more digging you need to do for a Versalock wall or any segmental block wall. I'm sorry, I can't say any. I'm going to stick with Versalock. Some of the lesser, the block that aren't as heavy duty, there is more digging and reinforcement once you get over 2 feet. So for our purposes, we're using Versalock. For this, if we have a 3-foot tall wall, this is telling us that we need dead men, these pieces running back, equal to the wall height. So now we need to have, we have 6 inches here through the face of the wall. we need to go back another 2.5 feet into the slope with those dead men. And then not only that, we also have to have a tie back, a cross plate here on the end of that dead man. So now for the wood, where most people assume that wood's cheaper than block, we're actually using more wood than just what you see on the surface of the face of the wall. And we are also digging back even further than we would for a Versalock wall. And then we have to fill that back in after we put these tiebacks in. So when I run the numbers, the amount of lumber that we need to get a 3x20 wall with 3-foot tiebacks and a 30-inch cross plate, our materials, and this is just the wood, $699.16. And I'm going to show you from Lowe's, $31.78 for a 6x6, 8 feet long. And again, I'm going off of the measurement 6x6. It's actually only 5.5 by 5.5 inches. So we're not even getting a true 6 inches. For Versalock, these blocks are 6 inches tall, a true 6 inches. And I am including a cap on top of the wall as well. So we're actually, if we make a 3-foot tall wall with Versalock, the cap is about 3 5/8 inches thick. So we're actually getting a little more than 3 feet tall when you put the cap on. And the material for Versalock block and caps is $756. So we're really only talking about less than $60 difference between the two in terms of wood versus block. But we have more in excavation time and costs for this wooden wall. You have to dig back further. And we have to then fill that back in as well. So we're actually taking up more of a footprint with this, and it's going to be more in excavation and labor costs, even though the materials are pretty comparable with block. So to settle this, wood is not a cheaper option up front, and it's certainly not a good value over the long haul. In this particular tutorial, they say 5 to 20 years, which is a pretty wide range in terms of how long wood could last. Right here. You can expect wood to require replacement in 5 to 20 years, depending on your climate. We live in a really terrible climate zone with a lot of freeze-thaw cycles. If you intend to build a retaining wall that will stand the test of time, consider a segmental block retaining wall. So even in this wooden tutorial, they're recommending block for the long haul. So the best value by far in terms of longevity and cost is going to be a segmental block retaining wall.